YouTube conversation
Right.
with some experts who were really unpacking his work.
Awesome.
And one of the things that really jumped out at me was this idea of bridging ancient traditions with modern science.
That's a really cool concept.
Because, like, we are in the middle of a global mental health crisis right now.
Oh, absolutely.
So the timing just couldn't be more relevant.
Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people are thinking about these days.
It really is.
You know, the World Health Organization actually estimates
Oh, wow.
that 1 in 4 people globally will experience a mental health disorder at some point in their lives.
Oh, my gosh. That's a huge number.
It's a staggering statistic,
Yeah.
and I think it really underscores how urgent it is that we find effective solutions.
For sure. And you know what really struck me?
What's that?
I was watching the YouTube conversation,
Right.
and they were talking about modern lice.
Okay.
And they described it as like juggling chainsaws while walking a tightrope.
Oh, wow. That's a powerful image.
I know.
Yeah.
Does that not perfectly capture the feeling, though?
It really does.
Like all the pressures?
It's very evocative.
And it made me think about what Dr. Dowd highlights in his research, too.
Yeah, for sure.
He talks about information overload and, the pressure to kind of measure up on social media.
Yeah, constantly comparing yourself to others.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And anxieties about, the economy, the environment.
Right. All the uncertainty in the world.
It's just a lot to process.
It really is.
And I think that's where this whole concept of holistic well-being
Okay.
really comes in.
Yeah. I'm interested to hear more about that.
Because what I find so interesting about this approach
Yeah.
is it doesn't compartmentalize our well-being. It sees the mind, the body, and the spirit as totally interconnected,
That makes a lot of sense.
not separate.
Right. Like it's all one system.
It is.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Holistic health recognizes that these aspects of ourselves are constantly influencing one another.
Okay.
It's not about fixing one part in isolation.
Right.
It's about creating harmony within the whole system.
So what you're saying is if I'm like constantly stressed out,
Okay.
it's not just going to affect my mood. It could actually manifest physically too?
That's exactly right.
Really?
Chronic stress can actually trigger a whole cascade of physical symptoms.
Wow. Like what?
We're talking headaches, digestive issues, weakened immunity,
Oh, wow.
even cardiovascular problems.
That's intense.
And then on the flip side,
Yeah.
physical health challenges can definitely take a toll on our mental and emotional well-being too.
Okay, so it's a two-way street.
Absolutely.
It's all connected.
It's all interconnected.
This is actually making me think about something I've been kind of grappling with lately.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
It's this idea of emotional intelligence,
Okay.
or EQ.
Right.
And I'll be honest with you.
Sure.
At first, I thought it was just about, like,
Okay.
being nice and agreeable.
Oh, yeah. Like just being a pleasant person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But after reading Dr. Dad's work,
Mm-hmm.
I'm realizing there's so much more to it.
There really is.
Period.
EQ isn't about suppressing your emotions.
Okay.
It's about understanding and managing them, both your own and the emotions of other people.
Gotcha.
It's about recognizing how emotions influence our thoughts and actions,
Okay.
and then using that awareness to navigate our inner and outer worlds more effectively.
So, I've always struggled with self-regulation,
Okay.
especially in those, like, high-pressure situations.
Right, when the heat is on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I just tend to get overwhelmed really easily.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I just, let my emotions get the best of me.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hearing you talk about this,
Mhm.
it's making me wonder if there are any specific Islamic practices that can help cultivate that kind of emotional mastery.
That's a great question. And you're right. EQ is not just some innate trait.
Right.
It's something that we can develop and strengthen through practice.
Oh, okay.
And actually, Dr. Dowd's work offers some really fascinating insights into how Islamic practices can help us cultivate those essential EQ skills.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more.
All right, so Dr. Dowd breaks down EQ into 5 key components: self-awareness, self-regulation,
Okay.
motivation, empathy, and social skills.
Gotcha.
But he goes beyond just defining them.
Uh-huh.
He actually connects them to specific Islamic principles and practices.
Oh, wow. Like what?
For example, he talks about how the Islamic concept of sabr, which is often translated as patience or forbearance,
Okay.
can be incredibly helpful in developing self-regulation.
Okay.
It's about cultivating the ability to endure difficulties with grace and resilience,
Mhm.
to pause before reacting,
Right.
and to choose a more thoughtful response.
So instead of like blowing up at my coworker
Exactly.
when they miss a deadline,
Right.
I should channel my inner saber
Yeah.
and find a more constructive way to address the situation.
Precisely.
Okay, I can see how that ties into self-regulation.
It is, and it's not just about suppressing your emotions.
Right.
It's about understanding them, allowing yourself to feel them,
Okay.
and then choosing how you want to respond
Right.
rather than letting them control you. So it's about taking back that power.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that.
Sabr is actually closely tied to the practice of mindfulness too,
Oh, right. Mindfulness.
which we talked about a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Remember, mindfulness is about being present in the moment without judgment.
Yeah.
And Dr. Dawood points out that in Islamic tradition, this present moment awareness is cultivated through Dhikr.
Dhikr.
Yeah, it's the remembrance of Allah.
Right.
By focusing our attention on Allah,
Okay.
we create a sense of grounding and stability amidst all the chaos of life.
I like that.
Yeah.
But how exactly does that translate to better self-regulation.
Well, think about it this way.
Oh.
When we're constantly bombarded with distractions and stressors.
Right, which is like all the time these days.
All the time, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in this whirlwind of thoughts and emotions.
Oh, for sure.
But when we engage in Dhikr,
Okay.
we're essentially training our minds to come back to the present moment.
Right.
To observe our thoughts and feelings without getting swept away by them.
So it's like creating a space between stimulus and reaction.
Exactly.
Instead of just like automatically reacting to every trigger.
Right.
You can pause, observe, and then choose a more conscious response.
Exactly. And that ability to pause,
Yeah.
to create that space,
Right.
that's really at the heart of self-regulation.
Interesting.
Yeah, and Dr. Dowd actually makes another interesting connection here.
Oh, really? What's that?
He links the Islamic concept of tawakkul,
Okay.
or reliance on Allah, to the EQ component of motivation.
Okay, that's interesting. I wouldn't necessarily think of those two things going together.
Right.
How does that work?
Well, think about it. When we're constantly striving for control,
Okay.
trying to force things to go our way.
Yeah, like we have to micromanage everything.
Totally. It creates a lot of anxiety and frustration.
So much.
Right.
Yeah.
But tawakkul actually invites us to surrender to a higher power, to trust that even when things feel really uncertain, there's a greater plan unfolding.
So it's like letting go of that need to micromanage every aspect of our lives.
Exactly.
And instead like embracing a sense of trust and surrender.
Yes. And when we release that grip on control, when we surrender to something greater than ourselves, it can actually free up so much mental and emotional energy.
Wow.
And that energy can then be channeled into pursuing our goals and living a more purposeful life.
Okay. So maybe that's the key to unlocking a deeper sense of motivation.
It very well could be.
Interesting.
Yeah, and Dr. Dowd doesn't just talk about these Islamic practices in isolation.
Okay.
He actually suggests that they can be integrated with modern therapeutic approaches too.
Oh, really? Like what kind of approaches?
Well, like cognitive behavioral therapy.
CBT.
CBT,
Yeah.
exactly.
Cool.
So it's not about choosing one over the other. It's
Right.
about finding ways to blend the best of both worlds.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah, so he sees these Islamic practices as offering this really powerful spiritual and ethical framework,
Okay.
while CBT provides practical tools for managing thoughts, emotions, and behaviors.
So it's like weaving together ancient wisdom and modern science
Exactly.
to create a more holistic and personalized approach to healing.
That's a great way to put it.
I like that.
And, in his research paper, Dr. Dowd actually provides some really interesting examples of how this integration could look in practice.
Oh, wow. Like what?
Well, for instance, he talks about how the practice of Dhikr,
Right.
with its emphasis on present moment awareness,
Right.
can be used to cultivate mindfulness,
Yeah.
which is, of course, a core component of CBT.
Totally.
So mindfulness helps us become more aware of our thoughts and feelings,
Right.
which is that first step in challenging negative patterns and developing more helpful coping strategies.
Okay. I see the connection there.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And he also highlights how the Islamic concept of tawakkul,
Right. Reliance.
exactly, can support individuals in letting go of the need to control everything.
Which is huge.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And it's often a major source of anxiety in CBT.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because if you're always trying to control things,
Right.
you're going to be anxious.
You're going to be stressed out for sure.
Yeah.
So instead of getting caught up in that cycle of worry and fear,
Yeah.
we can cultivate a deeper sense of trust and acceptance.
Right. Just kind of letting go.
Letting go, exactly,
Yeah.
and allowing us to navigate challenges with greater ease and resilience.
Wow. That's powerful.
It is.
And it's not just about individual well-being either.
No, it's not.
Right.
Dr. Dowd also emphasizes the importance of social connection and community support.
Oh, for sure. We're not meant to do this alone.
Right. He highlights how strong relationships,
Yeah.
supportive communities, and a sense of belonging can have a profound impact on our overall well-being.
Totally.
And he even explores how technology can be used to foster these connections.
Oh, that's interesting. And make holistic practices more accessible to people all around the world.
Exactly.
So you're saying technology can actually be used to promote connection and well-being?
It absolutely can.
Because I feel like so often technology is seen as like a source of distraction and isolation.
Right. It can be if we let it,
Yeah.
but it can also be a really powerful tool for connection.
Okay.
Dr. Dowd gives some great examples in his paper,
Like what?
like the development of mobile apps that offer guided meditations, breathing exercises,
Right.
and even virtual support groups.
That's really cool.
It's like putting the power of these ancient practices right in the palm of your hand.
Right on your phone.
Exactly.
Wow.
And he also talks about the potential for wearable devices.
Oh, yeah. Like smartwatches and stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
To track our sleep patterns, our heart rate variability,
Wow.
all these other physiological markers that can give us insights into our stress levels
Oh, wow.
and our overall well-being.
So we can actually use technology to gather data and feedback
Yes.
that helps us understand our own bodies and minds better.
Absolutely. It can help us make more informed choices about our lifestyle
Right.
and develop personalized strategies for managing stress and cultivating well-being.
I love how Dr. Dowd is weaving together all these different threads.
Yeah.
Ancient wisdom, modern science, technology.
It's all coming together.
Yeah, to create this like tapestry of holistic well-being.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is.
Yeah.
But I am curious, in the YouTube conversation,
Yeah.
did they talk at all about any potential downsides or challenges of using technology in this way?
They did. One of the experts brought up the concern of data privacy.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Right.
All these apps and devices collecting information about our habits, our